What's up, guys? Welcome to Chasing Projects, and today we're going to be showing you how to make jig leaders. We're going to be making something very similar to the ones that we sell in our online store, and we're going to start off here by working with 200-pound monofilament. Now, when cutting line, especially in the shop, I like using razor blades. They give a nice sharp cut. They don't mushroom the edge of the leader. And it makes sliding on the crimps much more easier than trying to fight it with a mushroom tip. So personally, for a chafe tube, I like using polypropylene tubing over chafing springs. I think it works a little bit better, and it's a little bit easier to work with as well. So on this end of the leader, we're just simply attaching a split ring. The tag end that I pulled through the crimp is just real short. It doesn't need to be long at all, as long as it makes it through the end of the crimp. That's all that really matters. And then on the other side of this leader, we're going to be doing the same process here, but I'm just be adding a swivel on the other end, and that's the section I would normally be tying to my line on my reel. Now, one thing you won't see me do is burn the ends on these leaders. It's a really silly old wives' tale. It's not necessary. If you crimp your leaders correctly, they will not slip through the crimp, and that's all that matters. When I'm working in the shop, I'm using my bench crimper. I believe this one's made by Highliner. It has these little dies in it that are for each individual size, and it's simply just one press and crimps the whole leader in one stroke. A lot easier to do than by hand, as I've definitely made over 1,000 of these already. So just much easier to work with when you're doing a lot of them. Repeat the same process on the other side here. All that matters when you're making these crimps is that the aluminum sleeve actually compresses and mushrooms out on both ends, so you have a tight, snug fit in both directions. So for sake of argument, we're going to be using a hand crimper. This is right out of our California Crimp Kit that we have available for sale on our website. And we're going to hand crimp the same leader by hand, as if you would if you're stuck on a boat and you didn't have a bench crimper. Now, when crimping these, always start in the middle. Now you get the most compression in the middle of the crimp, and then you're going to follow that by crimping both ends. Now you kind of get the same kind of mushroom effect where you're mushrooming out the crimp, so you have a nice tight compression in both directions. And just for comparison's sake, you can see here the 3 little crimps on a hand crimper and then one solid crimp. Kind of give you both the same mushroom effect that we're looking for. Now on to the torture test here. We're going to be linking both end to end using the split rings and the swivels, and we have them just end to end here. So we can see exactly which one applying the same load of force, which one holds better. Now, as you come tight on the winch here, you can see the stretch that is in monofilament, something that's unique to using monofilament. There we go, it's broken. Now for the reveal, you can tell here that it was the line that actually broke. Nothing broke in the sleeve, no line pulled out of the sleeve, just a straight line break. So quick look at our remaining connections. You can see that they all held tight. The tag line did not move, and whether it was bench crimped or hand crimped, as long as it was done properly, we did not have any issues with that tag line slipping out or changing. So on our piece that didn't break, this is about mid-line. You can actually see where the monofilament was getting really thin and was just about to break, as it was made from the same piece of leader using the same materials, put on the same load, and nearly identical results, just slightly different area that it broke. So I'm sure inquiring minds want to know, is this just a 200-pound mono situation, or does this apply to different sizes? So in this case, we switched out the dies on our crimper, and we actually made the same identical setup on 400-pound. As you can see, we displaced a little bit more aluminum on these crimps. They are a little bit bigger, and just one easy way, again, to tell them apart from hand crimped. So we set up again, all rigged up here, and this is the 400-pound mono. So one thing to note here as I'm coming tight on this is that you get the stretch in the actual hoops themselves. You can see how the chafe tubing is pulled away from the crimp when it was tight before. And that right there is going to be our failure. Our split ring here finally decided to pull apart. Again, this is using 400-pound test, and you can see how far the monofilament has stretched in the hoop itself away from the crimp. So, I mean, that's a pretty dramatic stretch of monofilament. So if you remember from our 200-pound test, it actually broke in the hoop, and you can see how it wore through the chafe tubing a little bit, but really it was the give at the end of the crimp is where it actually broke. So quick overview of the aftermath here. You can see how the hoop of the crimp actually returned against the crimp. So all that stretch actually came back. We hope you enjoyed today's video. You can find out more at chasingpelagics.com and also visit our online store.